Hello there, you're welcome to another code flow tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to be talking about block and inline elements. Let's go. So when we're talking about block and inline elements, I remember that we've made a bit of a mention about them in the last tutorial, and I've already said this tutorial is going to be a full explanation on what they are and how they work. So let's take a quick explanation into that, a quick review. A block element, as we've said earlier, it always starts on a new line. That's a true fact, and the fact that it takes up all the full width available. That means the full width stretches out to the left and to the right as far as it can. And the last time we talked about an inline element, we said an inline element, it has the ability to take up just as much width as necessary. It doesn't stretch out as far as it can, and it does not start on a new line. Okay? And so it just takes up the width that is necessary. And we talk about the popular ones that are being used, like the span and the div tag. We use those ones sometimes in styling documents, okay, and to set apart and separate parts of pages or parts of text. So definitely we have more than just span and div tag as a block and inline element. I'm very certain we have more than that. So we're going to be treating that part. We want to know how many block elements there are and how many inline elements there are, and we want to know how we'll be using some of them, and yeah, and the new ones that we're going to visit in the next few episodes to come. So right now, let's take a quick review. So a block element, a popular block element that we've made mention of. Let's go back to our Visual Studio Code, and before we jot down the rest of the things, let's create our comment as usual. Block and inline elements. This is quite amazing. Block and inline elements. We're going to go back to the next line. And what are the examples of block elements? I mean, that's the first question that comes into the the picture. So what are the first block element that you've actually made use of? We have the p tag, the famous paragraph tag. It's actually a block element. If we say hello Nigeria, hello Nigeria, and we save this and we go back to our Chrome and reload this, hello Nigeria. So we can actually see that this thing actually, if we actually write more than a lot of text right here, it's going to actually stretch up as far as it can. Okay, I think I want to really try something like that out. I'm coming. Let me try a simple typing. Okay, so I have a document right here, top training technology. So I'm going to open this document and I'm going to copy just, I think that's paragraph, and I'm going to go back into the Visual Studio Code and paste this. Let me delete the hello Nigeria. Nigeria. Okay, let's paste this right here, and once we save this, and if we come back to our Chrome and we reload this, we'll discover that this actually, as you can see, it stretches itself out as far as it can, okay, to the limit of the web page, and you can note that it's been written just like this. Like it's very simple. It's simply written in a simple manner. See, block elements. It stretches its width left and right and far. Now the question is, what would happen if we actually want to do this with an inline element? So the question is, what are the examples of inline elements that we can quickly use? A very good example is the span tag, as we've said earlier. Okay, the span tag, I'm going to press span tag, I'm going to type in the text in the middle just like this, and I'm going to save this. And by the time I go back to my Chrome, and I preview this, we can see for ourselves. Okay. Okay, a minute. Okay, it looks like the same thing almost, but actually the truth is that you're going to see more of this only when you style it. That's when you're going to actually feel the impact of using a block element or an inline element, depending on how you want to style your web page. So let's quickly go through some few block and inline elements. Let's okay, this is this is let me say a block element. Note, an inline element cannot contain a block element, but a block element can contain an inline element, just as you can see at the p tag and in the span tag. That's just one thing I'm talking about. Those p tags, see the p tag here and the span tag, okay? But you can't see a block element, yeah, can also contain another block element, okay? But an inline element cannot contain a block element. Please take note of that. So right now, let's make a difference. Let's set the difference between block elements, block elements, okay? And let's come down a bit and inline elements, okay? Block elements and inline elements. So what are the examples of block elements that we have on our list here? I mean, we'll be familiar with some of them. We have address. I'm not gonna make use of this anytime soon because this is just for your, you know, for maybe your forms or something like that. Article. Article, this is one of the HTML5 semantics. When we talk about HTML5 semantics, they're like the real modernized version of HTML. So we're going to discuss that when we talk about the HTML5. All these ones are actually just for you to get a bit of how the HTML come before HTML5, because HTML5 is even more simple than all the ones we see right here. Just simple basic words. Now we also have block quotes. As we go through in this tutorial, we're going to actually see the use of some of those, you know, those block elements. But okay, let's just go away from the unpopular ones. Let's go to the popular ones. We have the H1. This is the headings. Same to H1 to H6. They are all block elements. We also have the HR. HR means horizontal row. Okay, and you're gonna let's preview it. This can actually be previewed. The rest of these ones, because we don't have anything in them, they're just gonna be standing like that. So once we preview this and we scroll down, we can see this tiny ruler. This is the horizontal rule. You must have seen it in some website anyway. Also, we have the list, the popular LI. We have the OL. I mean, almost all your list elements are in this guy. Then also we have your video. When we talk about the video, HTML videos, we're going to talk about more about how to deal with this guy. We also have the table. The table is also a block element. You can check out more of these in W3 schools. They have a much more extensive explanation of how each of the elements work. Although as we go through the rest of the episodes, we're going to give more extensive stuff about how those guys really work. So right now, let's explore a bit of the inline element. So okay, we're not actually going against that, but we're going to go towards what we've said earlier. Inline elements, actually, they just take up as much width as necessary, okay? And they don't start on a new line at all. They don't start on a line. They continue along the same line entirely. So how do we make use of an inline element? Example of inline element that we've made use of previously is A. This A, you remember it's when we're actually talking about how to create links in HTML. And we also have button. You're going to be using much of the button when you want to learn about HTML forms and a bit of HTML links. Also, we also have inputs. But anyway, I have actually made use of those guys. But let's use of the popular ones. Strong. We've heard of those guys. Strong is an inline element in HTML. Also, we have your span tag. I will forget the span tag. Okay, not only the span tag, we also have text area. You see much of the text area when you are learning about HTML forms. Text area. We also have small. Almost all your text formatting are kind of part of the inline elements. Okay, so just take note of that. So basically, that's just the simple part of the block and inline element. Let's take a bit of var. These are your HTML computer codes, and we'll be making use of them when we talk about HTML computer code, which is a separate episode on its own. So definitely this is just all about the block and the inline element. And please, a last bit of a warning: an inline element cannot contain a block level element. Don't make this mistake and be scratching your head when you're trying to start it with your CSS. So basically that's just all about the block and the inline elements. Okay, and we'll talk about the div. We know the div is part of the block element. Let's type the div so that we don't mistake it later on. Div, that's all. So these are the block elements, and yeah, and these are the inline elements. So we can actually save this. We can't see anything here. We can't preview this, although we can type text in the middle or add some attributes to preview them, but that will take much of our time. So these are just a few things. You can go to W3 Schools to learn more about those block and the inline elements, okay, and how you can make proper use of them. But the popular ones are the div and the span tag, and we've explored them in the previous episode, so please try to check that out. So that's all for now. I'll see you in the next episode.